I think that there's too much freedom in America.
Little did you know that rat actually committed suicide. Hello! As many of you know, my name is Heisenberg White, and when it comes to YouTube content, I can do a lot of things really good once and then never again. I am hoping, however, to change that today with a new series I'm calling The Never Ever Show. In it, myself and a guest will spend about 10 to 20 minutes interviewing each other in an effort to identify the type of person the other one is and what they may or may not enjoy when it comes to 4 specific categories: film, television, music, and the wild card. No books, because this is not a show for nerds, and I don't want nerds watching my show. If I find out my guest has never seen a certain movie or television show I believe they would enjoy, I send them off to watch it for the first time, and vice versa. We'll reconvene in a week or after we've done all our homework and discussed what we did or didn't like. Now, this is the first time I'm ever doing anything like this, so I wanted to be sure I started off strong. So I looked for a guest with talent, charisma, and charm capable of matching my own. And when I couldn't find anybody like that, I called my buddy Baked Salmon instead. For those of you unaware, Baked Salmon is a Renaissance man of sorts, well-versed in the field of video editing, video production, writing, research, journalistic integrity, and he's an all-around funny, pretty funny fish himself. He's made quite a name for himself these past few months and has most definitely earned my subscription and should earn yours. Please, welcome Baked Salmon, everybody. Take it away.
Hey, how are you? Thank you. That was an excellent lead-in. Probably the finest introduction I'll ever get, so it's all downhill from here.
I knew I would have to have an elaborate opening because I know that's what you're used to. You're coming. Yeah, I didn't want you to feel out of place. But okay, thank you so much, by the way, for agreeing to be with me. I'm sorry if I sound a little strange. I'm a little bit under the weather, but I was feeling better today. I wanted to do this.
Sure. Well, thank you though. In return, because this is quite an honor. It really you honor me by asking me to be on the first. I'm glad I could be a candidate for your first. Let's say that.
And don't worry, I'll be gentle. Okay. I wanted to ask you just a couple of really off-the-cuff, sort of personal questions. Like I said, I'm trying to gauge the type of person. I believe I have a very good understanding of you, but I want to really see how you work under pressure. I'm not really putting you under pressure, but I'm just going to give you bizarre questions here. And
I hope not, because I'll fail.
Me things that you would like to know about me. Okay.
You got it.
Number one, and my most important question is...
Yes.
Baked Salmon.
Do I need to get closer to the mic? Okay.
Maybe. How tall is your dad?
That's a pretty personal question. At this point, he's about 1 foot tall.
Oh, no.
My dad's passed away.
Oh, no.
I just thought, could I say that?
Was your dad?
Yeah, okay, gotcha. My dad was taller than me. He was probably just under 6. I want to say 5'11", 5'10", maybe.
Nice. Same with my dad. I'm a little shorter than him, too. What the fuck? Why did they get the good tall genetics?
Yeah, exactly.
I just got the fat stomach genetic. Ugh.
Speaking of my dad, though, I got to mention this because it's kind of an inside, funny thing for me and my brother. So he's about 5'10". He had a tattoo on his calf of a rooster hanging from a noose, and for most of our childhood growing up, we had no idea what that meant until one day we learned.
Does that mean what I think it means?
Yeah, it does. And this is my dad who, before he passed, had joined the Mormon church and been a deacon and all this stuff, and he had this tattoo all along on his calf of a rooster hanging. Anyways, love you, Pop.
Oh. Well,
Navy tattoo, of course.
Yeah, I guess. I've never heard of that, but I knew exactly what it was once you said it. All right, here's a more normal question. Sorry,
okay.
I just wanted to catch you off guard with the first.
That was off guard. Funny.
What was your favorite television program as a child?
Most memorable, because I had a number of them I liked. I loved cartoons in general. except for Hanna-Barbera. I never was a big fan of the repeating background and stuff. But as for TV shows, oddly, I would say even from a young age, because my mom would watch, is Saturday Night Live. So as long as I could keep awake, she would stay up to watch it, and she would let me stay up to watch it. And I'm thinking like, as young as 8 years old or something. I was born in the 70s, and
John
but anyways,
Belushi, right?
Yeah. So I can remember that era. I can remember what was his name that played Lodka on Taxi? Andy Kaufman.
Oh,
I remember him being on there and it just being so off the wall. Like his humor was like anti-humor, where it was funny because it wasn't funny or something, and that just really messed with my head. And I got to see cool stuff like David Bowie on there, and I don't know, it really seemed to impact me. So I'd say that was my favorite show. I really looked forward to it. I didn't always get the jokes, but it was zany, and so that I'm gonna think that's probably my favorite show and most memorable from childhood.
Okay, I can definitely appreciate that. I've got in my disposal here the DVD copy of The Best of Chris Farley on DVD, which I believe is amongst the golden era of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, that was the 90s. I remember that.
I don't mind it these days. I don't make any effort to watch it unless it has become such a big deal that I hear people talking about it. That's usually when I'll check out like a clip or a skit or something like that. I just don't really pay attention to it now.
Yeah,
it's too obvious of humor.
Yeah, the best stuff that they have, I think, is when someone does like a little short film, like a little
where it's something really bizarre, off the wall. Something really original like that. Trump doing Trump things is like, are you gonna do this every single week? Because
I'm over that.
This show to escape that sort of thing. Like, I don't want to be reminded of all those. But the really bizarre stuff is
how about
really like.
What was your choice for your favorite show?
Oh, for me, I mean, there's dozens of shows I watched over the cartoons, like you said, but I'm really gonna date myself here in the opposite way. SpongeBob, by far, 100%.
Dude, is that show incredible or what? It's just
I can quote
amazing.
Every episode, probably from the first 3 seasons, verbatim almost. It's incredible. There's a great Facebook page that I discovered a few months ago called Every SpongeBob Frame in Order. And
wow.
For months they've been doing this. They're only like halfway through the 3rd season right now, and they're uploading every single frame of animation. And you see it everywhere you go on the internet. There's a SpongeBob meme of something everywhere. It's like one of the most memeable just shows because it was so universally loved and adored by the people that grew up with it.
Right. And I didn't grow up with it, but I totally appreciate it because I love cartoons, and I've watched cartoons my whole life, but I do get it.
That's up there on par with those type of groundbreaking animation. Like, I mean, people are going to argue which is better, but it's up there in regards to like what Mickey Mouse did and what Homer Simpson did.
I mean,
like
clearly it's impacted
animation.
people. Yeah, it's a big deal, I think.
I believe SpongeBob accounts for like 5% of Viacom's entire like yearly income. Viacom owns tons of properties and owns tons of shows, and that's huge, just from the television and the show itself. But yeah, SpongeBob's always gonna have. I have a SpongeBob tattoo. I don't have a tattoo of SpongeBob, but I have a SpongeBob-related tattoo. It's my only tattoo.
Is it an obscure reference then?
It is, of course.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a one-off joke from one episode for about 5 seconds.
Kick ass, yeah. That's the best tattoo.
And you know what? My mom, of course, who comments. My brother, actually, my younger brother's one he's got a couple tattoos, but I sort of hid it from her for a little bit, and she's like, "What are you gonna do, Dan? What are you gonna do when you're bringing a girl home and she sees that?" And I'm gonna go, "Well, Mom, if she doesn't get it, she's not the one."
There you go.
Plain and simple. Yeah, it's a test.
It's a deal breaker right there.
Practical, yes.
Let me ask you. Let me interview you.
Please.
I'm going to take over your show, by the way. No, I just have a quick question because you said that you can quote, every SpongeBob and stuff. The first episode. I guess this isn't a question. This is going to be a statement, an anecdote. The first episode that I ever paid attention to that I realized, wow, this show is great, is the one where SpongeBob is trying to catch the bus and he keeps going from one side of the street to the other. Yeah. Oh, that just had me dying. I just thought that was the greatest thing. He keeps missing the bus. I don't know.
It's so crazy but relatable. Like just the feeling. The situation is bizarre, but the feeling of just like every fucking time I like try to distract myself or pay attention, nothing's happening, and then when it comes down, that's it's a creepy episode too to be in rock bottom where he was in the fish.
That's like, right. He was in the wrong side of town.
Yeah.
But thanks for letting me divert to that because I figured you could. You're a fan. I just wanted verification on the SpongeBob voice. Somebody told me that it was a background voice from some other cartoon, like Rocco's Crazy Life or whatever it was.
Voice actor, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. He's done Adventure Time. What else is he? He's tons of different animations. Yeah, he at least has one spot in one episode of almost every animated show to come out in the last several years.
Two shows that I appreciate: Ren and Stimpy and Futurama. It took me years before I realized that Philip Fry was Stimpy, the same guy doing the voices.
Now when you said that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I love Futurama, by the way. Yeah. That's one of my favorite shows. I think all time favorite. Up there with my favorite shows is definitely The Simpsons. I've been collecting the DVD sets of The Simpsons since I was in like 6th grade. That was like the one adult show I was allowed to watch as a kid. Yeah. Oh,
nice. So you have 30 some odd collections, right? I don't know how long they've been on the air, but
15 of like the good seasons. Let's be real here. I'm a realist when it comes to The Simpsons. I know that the newer ones are fine, but the older ones are the really classic ones. So. Now that it's on Disney Plus, it's like, well, I just bought all that for nothing. But when the fall of civilization happens and the internet goes offline, I'll still be able to watch physical copies of The Simpsons. So,
Yep, there is that.
Then King of the Hill. King of the Hill, I related to on an unreal level. My King of the Hill is like they stuck a camera in my dad and my grandpa's lives and just recorded it. This is sort of shit that they talk about. Just the fact they just shoot the shit all the time. Just like, I'll tell you what,
So is it like Hank and Cotton, or is it like Hank and
Hank is like a combination
buddies?
Of my dad and my grandpa, and all of their buddies are combinations of all of them too. It's just so bizarre that my grandpa, when the show was coming out, he was already barely aware of things that were going on, and my dad says to him, you gotta watch this show. This is they owe you royalties, man. This is all what you guys used to do. And he's like, well, whatever. And then come back 3 months later, and he's watching it on the TV. He's like, I've been watching every episode. It's something that 3 generations of my family got to enjoy together, which is funny. So yeah, definitely one of my favorites.
Nice. Well, I love cartoons, and it has telegraphed into my video making because I like to use the Raymond Scott music that they would use on Ren and Stimpy and stuff. So when I can, I'll use that stuff. It gets a copyright claim, but I don't have my stuff monetized anyways. So, yep. Well, one day maybe. Yeah. It's nice though being able to just make stuff for people. I don't have the goal of being monetized. If I had that ability, I would probably look into it. But it's a hobby. It's not like I'm trying to make it into a career. Maybe I should. I don't know. It certainly is enjoyable now.
They're gonna look at your video and go, "Holy shit! You know how to write. You know how to edit. You should come work for me." Tell you what, when I win the lottery,
that would be fun. I would like that.
Versa. We'll come work for each other.
Okay, cool. We'll make a reality show of what you do with your money.
Just how I lost $100,000 by backing Chris Hansen projects.
Oh, right.
It's where.
Invest in his brand.
Mind if I take a look at that $100,000 check real quick? Yeah, sure. Can you give it back? Give what back?
Yeah.
Here's my next question for you. What is a pet you would never own?
Boy, this would have been real easy a year or so ago, 2 years ago maybe. I just never was a big fan of small dogs, and I've lived a few decades, and something happened. I don't know what it is, but I just started noticing small dogs are really cool. Not the purse dogs, but there's a channel on. I don't know why this all has to come back to TCAP. I apologize, but TCAP Recipes has a dog named Tango.
Tango!
And the thing is just so cute. Chef Tango is so cute. I just think it's got a big smile, big eyes, and it's just a little, I don't know, Chihuahua, a mutt or something.
My family has had since I was a freshman in high school. I begged our family for a dog forever. When I was 2-ish years old, my mother said, "Dan, I'm pregnant. You're gonna have a little brother or sister. What do you want?" And I said, "I want a dog. I don't want this shit.
Nice.
Give me a dog." Finally, my freshman year, we ended up caving, and we got ourselves a Shih Tzu Chihuahua, which is commonly referred to as a Shih-Chi, believe it or not. Little tiny baby puppy, and we love her to death. She is, like, my parents are crazy about this dog. She's an awful, like, she's not a good, she'll bite every now and then, and she barks a lot. She's not terrible, but she, we don't live with our parents anymore, but if we start coming, like, walking towards our parents just a little too fast, she'll like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you." She's like, "You better watch it. That's my mom right there." I'm like, "Well, that's my mom too, dog.
Yeah.
Come on."
Well, this is going to be a weird answer, I think, finally, my ultimate answer, because, yes, in the past, I probably would have said a small dog. I'll take a big dog over a small dog any day. But what also has changed in me is I realize I don't think I would ever want to own a dog even, because now that I appreciate dogs more, I just wouldn't want to have to endure, like losing a dog, because I feel like I would become, one of those owners that just really has that tight bond with their dog, which I'm right. Sure any good owner does. And I don't know, I'd just be even though I would enjoy the time together, I don't know, I'm being the sap, but I would probably be tore up.
A boat. Mm-hmm. It's fucking awesome, okay. But it's a lot easier to manage if you just have a friend that owns a boat, and you can just use theirs every now and then. You don't have to do all the maintenance and all the work, It's like, yeah.
Right.
I was never, ever a cat person. Ever. Ugh. I mean, okay. Why? All the cats I ever knew in my life were awful. We had to go... our neighbor had another tiny dog that we were in charge of back in like middle school or something, take it out during the summer when they were at work, and they had a cat that sat on the top of the stairs. We would have to put on hockey pads and bring a hockey stick just to divert the cat away from us getting to the dog. It was hissing and clawing. It was just awful. And I thought all cats were like that.
That's a bad cat.
All cats were like that, where they were just hiding all the time. I can't believe how incredibly blessed I was that it was a girl I was dating at the time who absolutely, animals are like her whole life. She works for the SPCA now. When we were living together, said, I mean, I knew she was crazy about animals. I said, I was wondering how long it was going to take before she just brought an animal home. It took 2 weeks from us living together. She saw it in the pet store and just like, "Dan, we gotta get this cat. I'm in love with this cat." I'm like, what is it about any one cat that's different from any other cat? I figured they're all the same.
Okay.
She shows me the picture. She is, she's not scraggly. She's beautiful looking. We bring her home, and holy shit, man. I mean, the second we let her out, came up and just started sitting on us and cuddling with us, and she has never stopped.
Yeah, that's great.
She doesn't have. I always thought cats had like fur balls and shit. She's never had a fur ball. She's caught a couple mice at some of our apartments, which is nice. Good. Yeah. She's just so. She sleeps with me every night, and I'm just so happy. That.
I like cats.
I don't know if I'll say enough that I like cats, but I'll tell you, I like this cat, and I named her Harriet, and she is my best friend and my roommate, and it's a little sad to say that, but that's true.
Well, there's hardly anything that's more enjoyable than watching a cat play. I don't know if your cat is active, but it's so fun, so like therapeutic
so
or something.
Just the things that they do. What wakes them from a sleep is so weird. They'll sleep for 5 hours and then they'll wake up and just kind of like look around and dart around the room real quick and then just go right back to sleeping. Like, why?
Yeah.
The things you do. Why do you do it? Let me into your mind. But to answer the actual question, same relationship, rats. She ended up bringing some rats home.
Yeah.
Same sort of situation. She was at the SPCA at the time. She asked me ahead of. I mean, we were already sort of like distanced from each other. It was definitely coming on this breakup. She asked me. She's like, "Dan, what would you do if I brought rats home for us to have pets?" And I said, "Absolutely not. They are the only animals that I really don't like." I was like, "I would rather you bring home a tarantula or a snake than rats. I just don't like them. They're creepy. Don't do it." 2 days later, "Hey, Dan, come help me get the rats out of the car." And I'm like, "Do you?" And they were creepy.
You bring your hammer out there, you're like, where are they?
Bad, I'll say, but like, I have a thing for rodents that freak me out. I used to work. My first ever job was in a beer store warehouse sort of situation. A lot of tough guys worked there, right? Almost all of them would just drop everything the second there was a spider around. I couldn't believe how afraid. I'll start picking up the spider and be like, "Yo, look, what's wrong with that? It's a spider, And they shit themselves. And I was the only one that, like, whenever there was a rat caught in the rat trap or something, I would, like, walk out of the building. I was like, "Get me out of here. I don't even want to look at that fucking thing. It's so creepy."
Dude, I got a funny rat story, believe it or not. And you might actually find it funny, even with your disdain for rats. So, I was working at a film studio.
Interesting.
And it was a pretty good job for a year. Then I was over it after that. It wasn't a great group to work for, but the workmates were great, which that's how all jobs are. It seems like your boss can be a dick, but you like your coworkers often. Yep. So we worked I was working in the props department. We used airbrushes and stuff. So we worked in this big, like, kind of like an airplane hangar, so that when we're working in the daytime, they could have the doors, the big bay doors open and everything. And I like to go in there early or work late a lot, like just so I could be solo and it'd just be quiet there and stuff. And I went in one morning before anybody got there, and again, it's it's kind of like being in a big warehouse. And we knew that there was rats that would run around like on the beams up way high, because it was like 40-foot roof or something. But I found a dead rat like right in the middle of our work area. That must have fallen or something. I don't know. Or maybe he ate some poison or something. Well, this idea came to me. I thought it was brilliant. I still think it's brilliant. But I made a little tiny suicide note and I put it in its paw. I don't remember what I wrote, but it was like, Marcia, I can't go on like this or something. And then I just like went and worked outside so that when somebody came, they wouldn't know who did it. But it could be a big joke, and I think everybody got a kick out of that. Anyways,
that's how you make lemon out of lemonade, or lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah, exactly. Got a dead rat? Yeah, make it something fun. Have fun with it. Right.
Destroyed tarnished his reputation.
If only I'd done an autopsy, I might have seen there's a small bullet hole behind the ear.
That rat didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
Like Epstein, right?
Yep.
Yes. Next question.
Yes, sir.
And you have to answer quickly.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Here are your two options. If you could die right this exact second or live forever till the end of time, what would you do?
I would live forever.
Really? Can I tell you why that's a bad answer?
Why?
Think about it for a second. You want to outlive everyone you've ever known. You want to outlive the earth itself.
God, I'm sure I would regret it after about 1,000 years. I'd be like, that was a big mistake. But
I haven't even.
You told me I had to answer quickly.
I don't know if it's better if you do age physically or don't, and you're just always trapped in this body, and everybody else around you comes and goes, waves and waves and waves of generations of people forever, all of time. Versus if you just died right now and you just wouldn't even care. You wouldn't even know. You'd be dead.
Right.
That's why I say I would die right now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And if you were to look your age, you're gonna live forever, but look your age, like, wow, you look like you're about 1 million years old. I am. That would be bad.
Oh my God, yeah. You're just basically a skeleton walking around at that point. That's some kind of living hell. Yeah.
I understand there's no take back, so now I have to live forever. But sure, I mean, given more than a fraction of a second to answer, I think, logic would dictate. Sure, just
I've seen
do
a lot
it
of people
quickly
really
right now.
defend that answer to live forever. Yeah. Well, nobody wants to die, let alone right now. That's why I make the answer quickly.
But if we have to go, quickly is the way, I would think. So, yeah, you're right. If I was just,
thing, like
I wouldn't know.
Dead, you're dead. You know,
Yes.
you're not mourning
Yeah.
the loss of yourself. You just lights out, you're gone. You know.
So you're an atheist, I guess.
Always being conscious. Well, he's here or there. I don't know.
I know. I take bits and
The
pieces.
technical term is agnostic.
Okay, yeah, I'm probably in that realm.
I think it's agnostic is the only true religion in that. Who knows? It's like I'm not about to die on some hill to say Jesus or Muhammad or this or that person is like the absolute definitive God.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I
look
just
how
don't
many
know yet.
people are, ready to die
How
on a
about I
hill.
take just a little the good points from each one? How about the be kind to others, don't fucking murder people? How about I just take those things and just do those things?
Yeah, which
Can I
I
do
think
that?
most people can relate to. But yeah, I'm not going to die on a hill. You're not going to die on a hill, but a lot of people do, and that's really interesting. Kind of sucks, kind of whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
let's talk about religion, Dan. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna move past that real
Yeah.
quick.
Sorry about that.
Here's my next question. What
Yeah.
time is it?
It's 6:44.
Oh, cool. It's 9:44 for me.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
I got that one right.
Yes. My next question. What is now? Here's a hill you can die on.
Okay.
What is the best Christmas movie?
Shit. Okay, I like Chevy Chase. I like National Lampoon.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a top tier. Absolutely,
Yeah.
I'll agree with that. Yeah.
I would say Die Hard. I like it. I think that's a pretty fun movie if you want to count
Iron
it as
Man
a Christmas
3,
movie.
Die Hard. Yeah, those are movies that take place during Christmas. But yeah, I get it.
I think. God, what would it be? I do
What's
like.
funny, 'cause, like,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was gonna say I
go
do
ahead.
like at Christmas to watch Christmas TV shows. For example, this is pretty regular, in rotation on Christmas. South Park, like Mr. Hanky, the Christmas special South Park, and TV Funhouse. I like, I think about that around Christmas, so I make sure to watch that. I don't know if you're familiar with TV Funhouse. It was only like
Yeah,
six
they
episodes.
were affiliated with SNL too, right?
Yeah, it's Robert Smigel. Yeah. So there's Christmas episode of that. But so TV shows, it seems like ends up being what I watch. If I had to pick one, I like the oldies. Miracle on 34th Street.
It's a hard thing to like.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, it would be Christmas Vacation. Christmas. Yeah,
Vacation.
Christmas Vacation. That is what it's called. Yeah, I love that show.
On the one
All of
hand,
them.
like Elf, the movie Elf,
Mm-hmm.
hilarious. Little did you know that
Yeah.
that actually committed suicide. It was a classic. But how do you compare that to like the original animated Rudolph?
Oh well, dude, those are.
The original Rudolph is like
I love animation, so
it's not funny, it's
No.
not that good, but like how can you badmouth Rudolph? Like it's such a classic. Like
Yeah.
it's hard, and do you agree with me that A Christmas Story is good but a little overrated?
Oh yeah, no, I
Shoot
think
your
so.
eye out.
Yeah.
You know what killed it? TBS airing it on loop 24 hours every Christmas, like
Right.
But
yeah, you can't
fun
beat.
doing it anymore.
You can't beat. Nobody wants a Charlie in the box. I don't know if you remember
All the
that.
other
but-
toys have legitimate like deformities.
Yeah.
Dude, you can just change your name. You're
Yeah.
a perfectly functional toy.
Oh man, dude, there's a picture of Lorne Armstrong when he's a child, and he's playing with one of those Jack in the
Misfit
Boxes.
toys?
Yeah, he's playing with a
yeah.
Jack in the Box, and two things. One, I had that very one. It's a Peanuts themed one,
Oh,
and
that's interesting.
Lorne and I are the same age, but the
What?
yeah,
No way.
yeah,
What?
No
No
way. You owe me a Coke. But what cracks me up is that thinking of Lorne being the way he is, I wonder if it all goes back to just being startled by that damn toy. When you're a child, those tiles were so scary. Or those toys were so scary.
Just felt the rush of adrenaline down to his loins.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I'm so horny right now.
I don't know. That's what I see when I think of it. It's like, oh, poor Lorne. He would have been fine if they hadn't given him that toy.
Best. I do like to cheat all the time and pick like movies that like are vaguely associated
Right.
with Christmas too, right?
Right.
It's funny, isn't it? That like there are movies. I think the movie that fits right in the middle of that, of a Christmas movie and a movie about Christmas, is probably like Home Alone.
Right, I could consider that a Christmas movie.
Yeah, they show it at Christmas. It's fucking like Freeform or ABC shows like Harry Potter during the Christmas season. Like, there's like a fifth of the movie that takes place during Christmas time, and I guess that's what qualifies it as a Christmas movie. But yeah, I don't know if I could pick any one. Yeah, I mean, in my family alone, Elf has become the staple. We've watched it almost every single year.
Right.
It still has its moments. It's still pretty funny. All right, here's my next question.
Yes, sir.
What is the worst thing on television right now?
Jeez. I watch TV. I'm not afraid to admit that I can get sucked into the worst of the worst shows. I would have to say, I saw like Naked and Afraid recently at my brother's house, and that seemed. It's got
it's pretty one note.
It's just that doesn't really, it's I can't really get into that one. So that's what I'm thinking that I saw recently. That I'm like, this is kind of dumb. Like, it didn't really grab me. So I'd say, you know what? It's the shows that that show how stupid rich wives can be or something like those.
Oh God,
those
yeah.
Yappy. I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to offend anybody, but I just don't. I can't get into that.
1% like people that are like, oh my God, she bought the same fucking Cadillac as me. God damn it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna fucking raise hell about this. Reality television, yeah.
Yeah, rich people problems. I do like, a lot of reality television. One thing that's really
Is
difficult.
To Catch a Predator not reality television in a way, I guess?
I would say it's reality TV, but it's one that I can defend as being real, and that's one thing that really chaps me. What am I doing? I got to use my catchphrase. The one thing that really gets under my gills with reality TV is that so much of it is staged, and I don't want it to be. I want to be able to, believe that the guy that bought the storage unit actually found, the whatever, the Torah or something. That I don't know. Like that really burns me up. That that I will get sucked into a reality show and then realize this is all fake, and I just wasted all that time.
I think I have a real disdain for sitcoms. Mostly, who in 2020, the year of our Lord, 2020, is saying, hey, let's do a situational comedy that requires recorded studio audience laughter, so that our stupid, dumb audience knows when to laugh when there's a joke, so they think the show is funny.
Right.
I don't understand the need for it now. I understand the need for it back in the 50s when it was new and exciting and different. The fact that studio... I wrote a list of like all my favorite shows ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 15, 20 different shows. Not a single one of them has studio laughter.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe like Frasier might have been like the one exception. Like...
Have you watched Friends without the laugh track? Have you seen that?
It's funny. It's funnier.
Yeah, it's so it just really makes a point that this show is not very well written and it's not special.
It just fucks up comedic timing.
Yeah.
Just to drop a like slight lead into a joke and then have to pause for 5 seconds for everybody to go, and then when you get the big punchline, and then after that, and then it's just a lot of just standing around waiting for the laughter to stop.
Well, there's professionals that do it. That's like a unionized group of what do they call it, SAG members. That do the audience laughter.
Yeah,
kind of interesting.
At this point, I thought it was just all the pre-recorded stuff over and over again. Oh, maybe Drake and Josh was funny that had studio laughter, but that's okay. That's another show from my childhood. All right. Yeah. What was the... you're going to have to think about this one as a memory sort of thing. What was the last movie you paid to see in the theaters?
Oh, okay, yeah. This will take me just a minute. And it wasn't that long ago. What would it have been? I don't think it was animated. because that's generally going to be a draw for me. Oh man, you know what? It was so random. It was a movie about, I want to say, lions. So that's how good of a movie it was. I think it was about lions.
The Lion King live action.
It wasn't that. No, it was like. Let's see,
like one of those Disney like nature documentaries.
It was a family that had lions that it was like a what do you call it, like a nature preserve in Africa or something, and then
was this a wide released film?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, it was at the AMC theater or whatever, and I mean, I never heard anybody talk about it, but the gist of the story is that the family needs money, and then the daughter finds out that the dad's like selling lions to the poachers. It was such a weird movie. Like I was convinced to go to the theater because it's like, oh, it's cheap day. It's like $5, on Tuesdays or whatever.
Yeah.
And oh, well, we're gonna see. Well, let's see this. And then it's like, it's such a forgettable movie. And I'm hard to pin down because I either want to be here at the computer working on videos or doing something, like artistic or whatever. And except for the times I'm sitting in front of the TV or whatever. But so to get me to a theater anyways is a chore. And then we go, and it's like something that's not really grabbing me. It wasn't a bad movie as far as I recall. It was I probably even cried because that's how I am. It's probably touching, and don't turn the lights up yet so I can dab my eyes. But so I'm sure it was a decent movie, but I just can't remember the name of it. It wasn't that memorable that I can. Nobody was talking about it for sure.
Somebody in the comments will let us know, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was Joker, and I was on the road traveling for work at the time, so it was the first and only ever movie I ever went to by myself.
Oh, cool.
10 out of 10 would do it again. It was great. I didn't have to flex on a date and buy like all the expensive snacks and shit, and try to worry about making out. I was just watching the movie. It was funny that it's the only movie that there was like a rumor circulating around that like if you show up by yourself you won't be allowed in because they were worried about like mass shootings and shit. That was totally media overhype. They wanted something to go down so they could talk about it in the news.
Right.
They didn't. And the movie itself was pretty damn good, and I will be surprised if it's not at least nominated for Best Picture for sure.
My mom told me that was the best movie she's ever seen. So
best performance by far.
Yeah, she said Joaquin.
By any actor, probably.
She was just totally blown away by it, and I don't know. I just wouldn't picture it.
So many people were nervous. Like after The Dark Knight, the first like real big screen adaptation of the Joker was Jared Leto in Suicide Squad, and it was so bad. It was so cringy. It was so out of touch with what made the first with what made the Jack Nicholson Joker a staple, with what made the Heath Ledger Joker incredible. It was so bad that so many people were we're really gonna make a whole movie about this again? Like, clearly you guys can't get it right, but they stepped back and was like, you know what? We're done fucking like trying to be Marvel. Let's try to be our own thing. And you know what? If DC's smart, I think they should do the opposite Marvel approach, where Marvel ties every single movie in with each other. I think they should do just like single vignettes of like one character, one villain, a movie, an origin story that doesn't connect to anything else. It's just in that style that director and that writer wants to do, and then you can have just like an anthology of Joker, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, and they don't, they can allude to each other like little Easter eggs or something like that. But you don't. They tried to build the DC universe, and it just didn't work out because Marvel was just so good at it, and they had Disney backing them. How are you gonna fucking compete with that shit? So
yeah. No, I'm with you on that. It's for one thing, like the fact that all those Marvel movies tie into each other, and I haven't seen hardly any of them. It's just
that's a feat.
It scares me away. Like I'm like, well, I don't know the story. I haven't been watching any of them, so so it's not a draw for me. But I could see why it'd be a draw for continuing audiences.
And it has for sure. Each one can be appreciated in their own merit, but yeah, once you know the whole story, it makes it a lot better.
It's like a video game. If I step away from a video game for a while, I have to start from the beginning again because I need to remember the story or something, because that's the kind of games I play, is ones with stories. But
I got 2 more questions for you.
Yeah.
What is the best wedding song to get everybody dancing?
First thing that came to mind was Celebration on Kool and the Gang. Is that Kool and the Gang?
Yeah. I think you're right. Come on.
But then there's the rabbit. I can't think of it. It's like the bunny song or something. That one's always a staple. But I want to say that it's
What?
yeah.
Wait, go back. What are you talking about?
Is that
the chicken dance.
Chicken. I said rabbit. See. I'm not much of
coming from a Polish
dancer.
family. That's a polka staple that has been in every wedding I've ever been to. Yeah.
I'm gonna say Celebrate though, if that's the right song I'm thinking in my head. Woohoo! That. Who can not move to that?
For me and for everybody in Western New York, they know that the shout song, be it the actual original one or the Buffalo Bills version of the, you make me wanna shout.
Yeah.
Oh man, gets people's fucking pumping, man. That's so good. And it's got that little fun little part where it's like, a little bit softer now, a little bit softer now, and everybody gets really quiet. It's a little bit louder now, and then people go, hey, let's go Buffalo. Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you can engage the party, that's always good.
All right. Yeah. It's a dancing song without any like specific moves. Like the cha-cha slide, you gotta listen to the instructions.
Yeah.
Slide to the left, slide to the right. Like you can just do whatever you want during the shout song,
Yeah, like a Macarena or something. It's a little too regimented.
Yeah, you gotta like do your homework, do your research ahead of time for the Cupid Shuffle or some shit like that.
YMCA.
Yeah.
Always get the letters incorrect.
My last question to you. I might have 1 or 2 more that just come up, but my last prepared question for you. We're going on almost an hour and a half here too. I'm so happy. I'm glad we've got some chemistry going back.
Yeah, hey man, and I'll be happy if there's anything that you want to do it again. I would love to do it again too, because it's fun talking to you. So
very cool. Now this one might cause some issues here.
Okay.
What is your most unpopular opinion? Hard opinion about something that everybody universally feels one way about that you feel another way.
Boy. It'll probably be really politically incorrect. Let's see if I can think of what it is. I guess I think that there's too much freedom in America.
Go on.
That sounds really bad. Yeah, and here's what I mean. People. So I've spent a lot of time in Japan over the last few years, and that country is super quiet. But I mean, it's just in their DNA, and just because of their history, that they are all tuned into one another, and they're all very conscious of not wanting to disturb another person. And so it was a kind of a culture shock the first time I went, because turns out I'm gregarious, because compared to Japanese people I am, because I want to say like, hey, Sato-san, how's it going, at the register or something. Nobody talks to the guy at the register.
Oh, it sounds like a utopia for me. Oh my god.
Oh dude, that's my character.
When I go to a store, I want to get my shit and get out. Like, I don't need they're like, oh, the service is so friendly there. Like, well, I'm shopping. I don't need everything I do is I'm doing. I don't need.
Well, believe me, you would love it there. So, and so when I say we have too much freedom, what I mean is that people here don't give a shit about the next guy, and so I have my rights, like to talk loudly to my phone on the bus or whatever.
They take their rights and their freedom for granted, I'd say, and push it too far. And
so I wish that there was more rules, that were enforceable on manners. People that say, yeah, you have your right to listen to your loud music, but why do you want to? Or
it's almost a culture thing as much as it is a political thing.
Yeah.
No, I believe you.
Loud cars, like, hey, look at the cool thing I put on my muffler, so now it, wakes you up in the morning and stuff. It's like, it sucks, though. Don't do that. Or look at my super high, my blue-colored high beams on my car, like, aren't they rad? Yeah. It's like, no, they're blinding me. It's like, hey, I have my rights, It's not illegal. Well, it's not, but,
Like, doing things for the sake of doing them because it's not illegal is annoying. Nobody needs those high beams or shit like that. Nobody needs a fucking bazooka, but,
Right, so I don't know that that's a practical thing, but I think, obviously when I said it, it sounded pretty shocking, right? We have too much freedoms, do we?
I'll cut the episode off right there.
No context, just like, that guy is a complete communist.
Thanks for tuning in, yes.
So, yeah, I guess that, if that makes sense to you, that's something that all the time I'm just thinking, man, I wish there was more rules about, like requiring people to be considerate somehow, because
people's stupidity knows no
bounds. You can't handle it.
Yeah,
you can't handle your freedom. Like, a lot of people can't handle their freedom in terms of, don't affect the next guy. Yes, you should be able to do that as long as it doesn't affect the next guy. You have the right to have a party, but don't, shut it down at 11 p.m. or something, if it's in your backyard next to all these houses. And I don't know. I've always felt like that. I don't feel like I'm a boomer or anything. I don't think I'm a boomer of age, but
boomer's a
I
mentality.
know it sounds like a crotchety
anything,
old guy. So I don't know. There's that. Huh. Does that qualify as an answer?
I think that's a perfect answer. Yeah.
Good.
My answer is that I don't think Moe's is as good as Chipotle.
Pardon me? You don't?
I don't think Moe's, the restaurant, is as good as Chipotle. I think Chipotle is better. That's my opinion. And that is the hill I will die on.
Have you had a flaming Moe, though?
I've had a flaming Home right here. That's the same thing. But, I don't know how many people... It took me years to get into Chipotle. It really happened out of necessity earlier last year when I found out I had celiac disease. I had to give up a lot of types of food with wheat and grain and things like that. And Chipotle has a really good menu for that. It's mostly just meat and rice and vegetables and things like that. Fell in love with it. I absolutely loved it. When I travel on the road as much as I do for work, they don't have Chipotles everywhere, but they have a Moe's, and everybody tells me, they're the same thing. They're just as good. Some people say Moe's is better. I have not had a good meal out of Moe's, I don't think, ever. I think their queso is disgusting. I think their meat is low quality. I don't like the environment. I don't like how it looks. I don't like anything about it. And people have fucking, almost squared up and fought me. They're like, you take that back, you son of a bitch. And I'm like, no, I won't. But there are just as many equal people that would say the same thing as me, where Chipotle is just the best. It's such... I ordered Chipotle last year, probably from March till December. Let's see, probably over 100 times, at least.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love when you have one place that...
And you know what I got? The same thing every single time. And it's still good to me. Yep. I'm still going to get it probably tomorrow. So, because I got to give it.
Dude, I'm going to push for you to get a sponsorship. I'm going to tweet at Chipotle to see if we can get that going for your
podcast.
Tell them,
hey, how many of your other sponsorees would literally die for you? Because I'm prepared to do that.
He said he would die on a hill. And I believe it.
On a literal hill. Okay, that's it for my questions. If you have anything else you'd like to know, please ask me. Otherwise, now is going to be the meat and potatoes part where we actually... decide what we're going to watch and experience with each other. So go ahead.
I don't know that I have any questions. I want to thank you again for letting me be a part of this. It's an honor for me. I have a lot of respect for you. You've been always again. There's a lot of great people in the community. You are one of them. You're intelligent. You always have something interesting to say. You have good sense of humor.
That's so kind of you. I really appreciate that.
It's just nice when you meet those people in the community, and there are a lot of them. But so for you to ask me on, I feel like you probably recognize that.
You don't understand. People talk to me like I'm like, that's Heisenberg, like that's the guy.
Right.
But that's how I'm like talking to you, and how I've been talking to you is like that's Big Salmon. Like he's so cool. Yeah, it's so cool.
So cool. Thanks, brother. Thanks.
Okay. Well, so I've got a good taste of the sort of thing that I think you're into and what you like to experience. I know sort of the types of opinions and things that you can form and how you feel. I'm going to throw some things at you here, and as soon as you hear one that you haven't seen or experienced or listened to, let me know, okay?
Okay.
Television. The television show Black Mirror on Netflix.
Black Mirror, is that a show with every episode is a different story?
Yes.
I've seen one, and I was tripped out by
one?
it.
Was it
I've
the
seen
first
one
one?
of it. I don't know. It was the one with the chick with the rabbit mask and the chainsaw, and it was a the whole story was a girl who had participated in a child murder. That's the only one I've seen.
One,
yeah,
it is by far like my least favorite for sure. Like you.
Oh, I thought it was trippy as hell. I was like,
if you like
I was
that
pretty
type of shit,
captivated. I don't know that it was. Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a list of. Television's tricky because like I want to, how do you properly convey a television show? But not everybody has time. I'll send you 3 episodes I think you'd like to check out. If you have Netflix, you can watch them. But that's gonna be my recommendation to you for television. What show would you recommend for me?
For a TV show, the one that comes to mind, because I'll watch it over and over, is The Office. BBC. The Office.
You know what? I'm a big fan of The American Office, but I've only ever seen like the first episode of the British show. So ironically, I've only seen one episode of that too. And I just finished watching another show, a British comedy show too. So I'm in a British comedy mood. Should I?
Oh, dude, yeah, that would be the one. I would say I would say, I don't know, you said 3 episodes?
Maybe, at that, yeah.
So...
that I've only seen one. Yeah, I'll give it 3 or 4 episode try.
There's only, 12, 13 episodes or something. It seems like it's a pretty short run. 2 seasons of, 6 episodes
I love
each
Ricky
or
Gervais,
something like that.
so, yeah, that's not going to be a problem.
Oh, amazing, and you haven't seen... Oh, okay, well, if I'm going to recommend you watch a show, let's... choose that one, but I don't know which episodes you've seen or haven't seen.
I've seen probably just the first one. So
okay.
We'll after the fact, after we wrap up, we'll send each other the actual recommendations.
Okay, sounds good. That's going to be it. I'm going to say you have to watch more episodes of The Office. Ricky Gervais.
Movies is going to be easy because you just said that you had. I don't think you've seen it yet. Joker.
Right. Haven't seen it.
There you go. You should check it out.
Okay.
I think you'll be impressed. And I think you'll be wanting more afterwards.
My mom will be pleased. And not that my mom is the movie critic of the world, but if my mom says it's the best movie she's ever seen, I'm going to take her at her word. She's got pretty good taste in pop culture. She's been tuned into pop culture, I mean, surprisingly, since I was a kid. Starting with watching Saturday Night Live with me, when I was a kid, but she just blows my mind. Did you? She'll call me to tell me Kurt Cobain, committed suicide, that kind of stuff. Where it's like,
oh, wow.
Why do you care, Mom? Because she's just always so tuned in. She brought me up to Los Angeles when I was a kid to what was that called? Melrose, this street in L.A. that at that time in the '80s. Like all the punks were hanging out at with the mohawks and stuff. We went up there just to walk on that street and to people watch because she was as fascinated by these punkers with rainbow mohawks as much as I was. And I just always loved that about her, that she was, for whatever reason, she's just tuned into pop culture.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, it's kind of interesting.
That's cool.
So I will watch Joker. That sounds great.
Okay. What do you have for me?
Okay, I'm sure you can probably get your hands on this if you haven't seen it before. I won't request that you watch Seven Samurai because maybe you have, but it's also a very long movie.
You know what? And this is so funny because I've been over time tracking my way through the IMDb top 250 movies, and that's always one up in the beginning that I see, and I'm just like, nah, I don't want to watch it. I don't know what it is. I don't want to watch it. I've just never gotten around to it. Are you saying that's something I should check out?
If you think you want, because I don't remember how long it is. Probably 3 hours. Probably like watching Godfather or something. Right. But
Joker's
I'll tell you what, that
too,
movie,
so that's fine. Yeah.
I've always been a person that if it's something's like super hype, super popular, like, oh, what's that? It's the best movie ever. Well, I'm probably not going to like it, or I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah. If enough people, or if they say like, oh, you especially would like this, like, you don't know me. You don't know what I like.
Right. So when I did watch the movie, I watched it on a DVD, and I thought, okay, yeah, that's a pretty good movie. You know, that was a decent movie. I'll say, yeah, that was a great movie. Don't know why it's the best movie ever made or whatever, but I watched it immediately afterwards. So that's like 6 hours total. Immediately afterwards, with this commentary from someone who is like a Kurosawa fanatic or something, and he explains why it's the best movie ever, and it sold me on it. I'm like, I get it now. Like, he talks about all the camera angle choices, the zooms, and like just all this stuff that, because I don't know a lot about cinematography, but after seeing that, I'm like, well, that's pretty epic. What I was going to suggest was Yojimbo, which is another Kurosawa film, and it's Yojimbo is really funny, and it's I can't think of it's a play on an existing popular story, but I don't remember what it is. But basically, a samurai that comes into a town that's got two warring factions, and he starts like, he's a badass, so he kind of he'll join this side for a while, then he joins that side for a while. It's really good. It's funny, but if you can watch Seven Samurai, it's enjoyable. It's not a dry movie at all. It's really well done, and it's what is it? The Magnificent Seven was based on it, so it's that same story of a town that has marauders, and then these seven samurai get hired to protect the town. It's a good movie, so you won't be disappointed. You just got to make time for it. So
I think I can do that.
And it's subtitled.
Oh, good. Music. I'll tell you, my music range is pretty wild, from house, EDM, all the way to Johnny Cash. So I'm open to anything.
All right. You want me to hit you
Go
first?
ahead.
Okay. I had two albums because I was anticipating this. Two albums that I was going to suggest. Since you have a wide experience in music, maybe you've heard one or both of these. The first one would be my favorite band ever, and the album Forever Changes by the band Love.
I have not heard of that.
Okay, so that was a 60s LA band. They were on Elektra Records with the Doors, but although they were, debatably better than the Doors, they weren't interested in touring. Like Arthur Lee, the main guy, was kind of snobby, and like he knew he was good, and I don't know, he just wanted to stay in town, like do acid or something and play his music. But the music that on that album was produced with what's his name, Burt Baccarat or something like that, and so it's got some like lots of strings and like orchestral sections, but it's really just LA, hippie rock and roll. And so yeah, Love Forever Changes, brilliant album. And the other one I was going to suggest, and I'm just out of curiosity, have you heard this? Pet Sounds,
the Beach Boys?
Pet. Yeah.
Hey, I've actually seen the Beach Boys live.
Oh, cool! I've never seen them.
Boy, the one that's still alive.
I'm so funny.
Okay.
A few years ago, I went to vacation at the Jersey Shore, and they were playing there. My parents were like, "Do you want to go?" I was like, "Yeah, let's go." It was a fantastic show. It was like my first concert ever, because I was super late to ever going to shows. It was indoors.
Nice.
I was the youngest one in the audience by about 50 years, and the concert was over by 9:30. It was perfect.
Nice. Yeah, that Pet Sounds, I remember in like 1991 or something, read a Rolling Stones article where they asked like 50 musicians what their favorite album of all times is, and that album kept coming up. Like, it was probably out of all of them, that was the one that came up the most. And a decade later or something, I happened across it and I listened to it, and it just really spoke to me. I think it's a fantastic album, and it's not, the do run run stuff that I was expecting from the Beach Boys, and about T-birds and whatnot, and cars and chicks. It was like really pretty deep, unrequited love and introspection, and
very true, yeah.
It's just cool. It was written by one guy, one of the brothers. My understanding is wrote every song and then had them sing on it stuff. So it's a very personal album for him, and yeah, I think it's a good album. But I'm going to say Forever Changes. I'm really excited actually for you to listen to that, especially since you have wide range of music that you'll be able to
I'll be going in with an
put
open
that
mind
into
for
your
sure.
perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How far back does your taste in like classic rock go versus like experimental sort of rock? One band that comes.
As far back. Oh, I was going to say musical like tastes and interests.
Sure.
Like as far back as like Leadbelly, back in the, I don't know what that was, like the 20s or something. That guy fascinates me, and I like those old blues guitars that are it just sounds like one guy, just playing a guitar and singing, and it's not even a band. So yeah, that's probably about as far back as I can imagine that
does
appreciate.
King Crimson ring a bell?
My buddy, when I was in my 20s, was a big King Crimson fan, and I mean, he was a big King Crimson fan, and I don't even remember ever listening to it. I don't know that he and I necessarily even listened to music much, but I remember he always talked about it. And so I'm not familiar with the music at all.
Not at all. Oh, well, that'll be easy then.
I don't think there's probably stuff I know, and I went, oh, okay, that's King Crimson?
Real basic. It was either that...
But I mean, and by and large, I guess, I couldn't point it out. Like, if you played it for me right now, I wouldn't know that was King Crimson, but I may know the song.
I'm going to recommend that album for you. I'll send the one that they're probably the most known for.
Okay.
It's you should do it just in an afternoon where you want to lay back and just sort of like take it in. I think technically some form of that group is still making music today. In the Court of the Crimson King. That is the name of the album. Yep. It's only like 5 songs long. Some of them are relatively long though. So
I think Forever Changes is pretty short. I mean, a lot of those vinyl records were actually pretty short. Finally, the 30 minutes maybe or something.
Okay. Well, now I have a television show, a movie, and an album to listen to. And
you probably so you're gonna send me an email or something, or you're gonna put it on Discord?
I'll put the details there. Yeah. But now is my 4th category, which is the wild card.
Right.
Which can be any of those things. It can be an experience. It can be a restaurant, a place, something that neither of us have done before that the other person should do. Within reasonable, I've never been to Vegas before. You can't say like, oh, you should go to Vegas.
Right. I actually dealt cards in Vegas for about 6 months, but that's another lifetime.
You lead quite an interesting life, my friend.
I thought about this one. I thought about all the questions, but there was one thing that came to mind, and I didn't even go past it. I'm like, I'm gonna tell him this. Hopefully, it's not a pain in the ass. I don't believe it will be.
Let's see.
Okay. Japanese language. I want you to learn the entire language. No.
Yeah.
Have you ever studied any Japanese?
The only other foreign language I've ever studied is French.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do this homework. The hiragana alphabet, and I'll send it to you so that we're clear.
Okay.
Hiragana is the phonetic alphabet that if you see it, you can, they don't have all the crazy things that we have where, an X can be silent and all this weird crap. It's like if you see the character pretty much always sounds what it is. So when they say their words, they enunciate every little character. I'm trying to think of how many characters are in the hiragana alphabet. It's maybe 30 or something like that. But there's a technique that I use to learn Japanese, and this will probably take you could probably do it in 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, I don't know. Where the technique I used is I looked at the character, and seeing how to say it, like he, ta, ka, very simple sounds. Looking at the character, I made like a picture out of it. So I'll give you an example. He, H-E, he. It looks like a little hump. It looks like a mound of hay, and that's how I remembered hey. It looks like hay. And for whatever reason, that's what came to mind. And I thought, I don't think that's a big task. I'm going to tell him, take each of the characters and just make a picture that you can, remember what it is. Now, you can't do that with all of them that I can see, but right. I'm telling you seriously. Key, it's K-I, but it sounds like a key, like a door key. It's shaped like a key. I mean, it's so it's not their intention, but if you look at it in an abstract way, it's a key. So I hope that's not a major curveball. I'll send you each of the characters.
That's incredible. Yeah, I'll be happy to do that. Yes.
And it's just kind of a neat way to be able to, like, maybe possibly just by looking at it go, oh, I know what that character is because it looks like the picture that I have assigned to it. And I bet you can get, easily half of them. You can make a very logical, understandable picture. I don't know why that came to mind. Japan's always kind of intermingled with my life, so there you go. That's a wild one. That's a wild card.
All right, kind of similar. What did you ever study when you were in high school or college as a?
In high school, my best stuff was art related, from drama to pottery, jewelry making. But it's something I didn't appreciate then that I do now is history. But
were you ever required to take a foreign language?
Yeah, and it sucked.
Spanish, I'm guessing.
French.
Oh, it was French.
Yeah.
I took 6 years of that shit, man.
So
I don't remember as much as I'd like to.
Yeah, but I don't remember anything.
All right, well, this is interesting because that was my New Year's resolution, actually, is to sort of relearn French.
Oh, that's cool.
To go back and do that. It's been made incredibly easy by the Duolingo app on my phone. It's free.
Okay.
And I remember way more than I thought I did, and it's so, good. I can read it and understand. I can't really speak it yet. I'm not right there. But I was just blown away by how the app works and how it, triggers my memory. It's incredible. And it's definitely going to be a good tool for me to remember those things. So what I want you to do on your phone is download the Duolingo app.
Okay.
And take some lessons trying to relearn your French or learn an entirely new language. Give it a, I don't know, maybe once a day, do it for 10 minutes.
Okay.
And come back and just tell me if you continue using it, if you learned anything, if you relearned anything. And
you got it.
I'll leave the language of choice up to you. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. How is it that we both chose some random language wild card? That's pretty trippy.
I didn't think of it until you said your thing, and I was
like, okay.
That's pretty good,
yeah, nice.
Actually. Yeah.
Good, okay. I'm glad I inspired you then.
Then this is going to pick up part 2 when we get back. Right now, we're just going to wrap up. This has been part 1, the Never Ever Show. I might edit it down. I might just upload the whole thing raw. To be honest, I'm not sure. I've had such a good time talking with you. We've had such a good conversation.
Yeah, this is cool.
Be interesting. I'm anxious to get started and check out some of the stuff you've asked for me to do.
Are you anxious to touch my penis? You can cut that out. You can edit that out.
Absolutely not.
No. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is fun.
I will be checking out some British episodes of The Office. We'll be watching the film Seven Samurai, which I've been meaning to do for a while anyway. Check out the album Forever Changes by the band Love, and I will be Hiragonye? Is that how
it's hiragana, and I'll send it to you so that we can clarify, because I don't expect you to have to research that.
And Bake Salmon, what are you going to be doing?
I will be it was Black Mirror, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay, Black Mirror. Joker, watching the movie Joker. The music was King Crimson, a specific album, which you'll remind me of, and then Duolingo app. I'm going to download that and learn some language and see if I can surprise you or amaze you with my skills.
And everything we're going to do is going to be given an honest attempt, but if I hate anything or love anything, I'm going to say it, and I assume you will as well. So don't hold back. Don't feel like you need to appease any of my tastes and things. So
okay, well, but
that to have a spirited debate.
Yeah, it would be rather interesting probably if I came back and said I couldn't sit through 10 minutes of that damn movie or something, So yeah, which is possible.
All right. Well, let's meet back here in a week.
Okay, brother, I'm looking forward to it.
And we're back. It has been exactly 1 week since we last spoke to one another. We've had some homework to do, and we've done it. We've done our homework, and we're ready to talk about it.
Done my best.
Yes, thank you once again, Baked Salmon, joining me once more. I can't wait to talk about what I've experienced and what you've experienced, and I don't know. This is going to be the mark of whether this is a show worth continuing. But hopefully I steered you in the right direction. Let's start by talking about the music.
Okay, that's actually what I have the most to say about, I believe.
Excellent, great. You told me to check out the band Love, specifically the album Forever Changes.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. It's very reminiscent of a lot of bands that I like. The ones that come to mind, the Moody Blues, the Zombies, a little bit of Blue Oyster Cult, I think. It's very trippy, catchy, experimental rock. And I really dig it. It's like a mixture of a lot of different groups, and it's they tell a story in their songs, and it's nice. The vocalist of the lead vocal, I think he has an amazing voice. I really enjoyed his singing.
Arthur Lee, yeah, he was the band. The band went through a lot of lineup changes, but he was the leader.
Great guitar work too. Absolutely solid. Standouts from the album for me included A House Is Not a Motel and The Red Telephone. I enjoyed those two songs especially, but I've been listening to the full album in succession over and over in the background this whole week.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, that album, you mentioned the guitar. There's actually let's see, so Hendrix and Arthur Lee were acquaintances, and I think Arthur Lee would say that Hendrix stole his look, and I think the consensus is the other way around. That Arthur Lee, is at least his appearance, with the silk, bandanas and whatever, just the full psychedelic look, was one of them took it from the other. And it's interesting because if you look at like the old blues artists from back in the 20s or the 30s. They were constantly bickering over who wrote what song, and everybody claiming that's my song and stuff. So it kind of is an extension of that. They were, I believe, they were acquaintances from Memphis. Arthur Lee's first band was Arthur Lee and the LAGs, which was LA group, and it was a nod to Booker T and the MGs, which was, now I know MG stood for Memphis Group. But anyways, so Arthur Lee and Hendrix were acquaintances of some kind, not positive to what extent, though I do know there's one song that Hendrix plays on, and it's not on that album. It actually was a session that Arthur Lee finally didn't have the money to pay for, so those tapes sat around for a while until one day, like 30 years later or whatever, somebody said, hey, we should put this out as a single. Mm-hmm. And so it's out there. I actually have a copy. Now I gotta think of the name of it. It's like Catch a Fire, I think, which is not Bob Marley. It's not a cover of a Bob Marley song, but I believe it's called Catch a Fire. Anyways, that's you said that it reminds you of a lot of other bands, and certainly there's something to say about the relationship between Hendrix and Arthur Lee. But that's what bands were doing, was listening to one another and
taking
borrowing.
notes.
It's probably the same thing we do today. Yeah,
it's it's always been a mix of who wrote the song and who made it famous. So more famous rock songs than you realize were actually from another band beforehand.
Right.
I just learned.
Yeah, and thinking of
the other day that what's that song? I don't know. So you think you're gonna... That song is actually... The popular American version is a cover of a different British band group that sang that song originally. And it sounds pretty similar, but the American version is better.
We're talking Twisted Sister, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That is very interesting. Love, actually, they do a version of Hey Joe, which a lot of people have done. And I think that theirs is the better one, but it's certainly not the one that's going to stand the test of time, because it's hard to knock Hendrix, and I'm just a Love aficionado. So, but theirs is really fast-paced, much more so than Hendrix.
Well, you nailed it on the head. I'm happy you were able to gauge my taste. And like I said, Moody Blues are probably one of my all-time favorite groups. I've listened to several of their albums many, many, many times.
Nice.
Just the blend of genres, the use of orchestral music, the echoey effect on our voice, to the use of speech in a song to catch people off guard. All really interesting things that both groups do. So yes, I recommend Forever Changes by Love. I give it a 8.5 out of 10.
Nice. Well, Court of the Crimson King, King Crimson. This is a good album, and interestingly, it's an album that's been recommended to me countless times over the years, and I wouldn't say I've intentionally avoided it, but it is kind of the way it seems to go with me when I get recommended stuff. I just, I will put something off apparently for decades.
People think I'm crazy, but I've said the exact same thing for so long, and I felt the exact same way. And 9 times out of 10, if I ever do get pressured into it, eventually I do enjoy whatever it was. But I was just being
absolutely
stubborn.
That's how it ends up being with me. And I don't know why that is. I don't. For example, I don't go to the movies often at all. So I pretty much, if I see a movie, it's been out for a while. It's on DVD or such. So it goes with music and TV shows. I can remember it took me years to check out Seinfeld, and of course by the time I started watching, this is brilliant, but there's no one to talk to about it because they're over it, which is kind of funny. That happens to me a lot, where when I'm finally ready to talk about it, it's super old news.
Same.
So King Crimson, I can specifically remember my friend Ed, who I can picture being 21 years old, I would say, living down by the beach, and he being one of the first people to ever say, have you checked out King Crimson? It was probably because I was, raving about love, and he's like, well, you should check out King Crimson, but I just never did. And even when I listened to the album, I'm surprised because there's a couple of those songs are like big hits, and I don't recognize them. So I don't know what the hell's going on with me there, because I've listened to a lot of music, and I'm really surprised that that it all sounded totally new to me.
Any standouts on the album?
For me, one standout, and that's
okay.
The 21st Century Schizoid. Is it? I'm trying to think of the exact title.
21st Century Schizoid Man. Did anything about that sound familiar to you?
Well, it did have. I'd say that the rest of the album sounded familiar, but not because it was them. It was sounding like other, bands to me.
In that specific case of that song, it was featured in a very popular Kanye West song. Just that little bit as part of the chorus.
That was
because 21st Century Schizoid Man, and then
that was something that I actually read, because I wanted to go in and see what other people thought about it, because it's a good album. But like compared to the hype that people had always wanted me to listen to, it didn't grab me as much as I had hoped. So it was an album that I forestalled, didn't listen to, thinking that eventually when I listened to
first off, your first mistake, I'm going to guess you weren't stoned.
Right, no, I wasn't.
Or on some kind of drugs.
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
Well, there you go.
But it is totally 1969. It doesn't surprise me that that's, the year that it came out. It's 60s rock. But it's their there's a lot of jazz in there, and it pains me to say this, because this is an album that's been directed to me so many times, and now by you, and here we're talking about it, I found it a little pretentious. But when I think about it in terms of that era, it's probably more brilliant. But I don't know. It seems I'm a little surprised that it's withstood the test of time when, with bands like Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd, who I think they fall into a similar realm of excellent musicianship, and the lyrics are very much, to me, they very much remind me of that early Pink Floyd stuff, like See Emily Play, or that era, The Pipers at the Gates of Dawn. Led Zeppelin's lyrics, and I'm big on lyrics. I really appreciate a well-told song, and so let's see. It's kind of like when I was say 14 and I was playing D&D and I had more I was reading fantasy books, I think I would have really dug it. But that's how it came across to me as a little too much like a young person's poetry or something. But I understand that the music came first.
It's like if a television show. It's like if a television show today had to make a fake '60s album for like a flashback or traveling back in time, like one that was just like, oh, this kind of sounds like that type of music from the time. I guess that's what this would sound like.
Yeah, no, like I said,
it's sort of an amalgamation of different types of music from that.
Right, era. And I don't know exactly because I haven't looked into them what they would say their influences are, but I'm guessing it's a lot of jazz influence as opposed to someone like Led Zeppelin with the very clear blues influence. It seems more jazzy than other bands, and the singer who is Lake, is that, I can't think of who the singer is, but his he has like a lower register, like a mellower voice, and that was probably something that really stood out at that time because let's say white bands at the time were finally like screaming into their mics that like blues artists had been doing for decades, and so but they didn't take that approach. Like they were more they're very like a mystical feel or something. They use the flutes. I can appreciate a good flute, but when it's coupled, coupled with their lyrics, it's just because it's me, I mean, my experience. And you listen to Love. That's my idea of a great '60s band. But that was an LA band, and these guys are from England, right? King Crimson from England.
Oof.
I'm not positive about that, but
stop me here.
I think that they are. I'm not a great music critic, but I've listened to a lot of music, and again, I've been advised to listen to that, and I put it off for a long time. And finally, what are the keys? The voice is strong. The little jazz jams that they go on are they're totally skilled. For me, it didn't feel like it was. Let's see. It doesn't feel as inspired as other music from that era. Like I said the word pretentious. Hopefully that's the right word. I think it's I don't know. I read something when I was looking up that song that I should have written it down, but it was something to the effect of someone in the band talking about when they came up with the title for the song, and he said something like I just chose the word schizoid. It seemed like a cool word to use, and then I thought 20th century. Oh wait, no, let's make this more in the future. We'll go 21st century. It was like it's the way people probably come up with song titles and stuff, but there was no mystique to it, and that's I kind of like that kind of stuff where it's like, no man, it's really heavy, it has this super deep meaning, but no, it was just a title, and that's fine. And like I had mentioned earlier, I can understand that these are songs that the music came first and the lyrics were an afterthought, not an afterthought, but the lyrics are going to the music, but almost like hey, we need lyrics, what are we going to say here? And you write some pretty good poetry, let's see what you can figure out. So, and I haven't looked into them enough to know their backstory. I'm big on backstories, and that can really make a difference on how I approach music. Is what did they go through to make this album, or to form this band or something. And when I know those things, I can appreciate bands better. But I'm sure I'll get a lot of hate for that one, probably along the lines of my "we have too much freedom" comment.
But out of curiosity, of the musical groups I listed earlier, when I left out, do you enjoy or are you familiar with the band Yes?
Only their hits. I've never really sat down and listened to them.
Yeah, kind of same for me. I put on a whole album today at work, just in the background of Yes. It's very there's some real jams in there in Yes, but you're right. I mostly just pay attention to the hits, and I feel like that this is that kind of band too.
Yeah.
Where some of the really like deep tracks are long songs, like 21st Century Schizoid Man, and maybe like at like the first 2 minutes of Moonchild before it goes into like 10 minutes
Right.
of basically just sound
Yeah,
effects.
yeah, that one kind of threw me. It seemed like
Or
wasn't
what
any
about the
effort.
title track, In the Court of the Crimson King? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, again though, the lyrics took me out of the enjoying the jam. I like that you can understand what he's saying.
Too wizardy.
Yeah, calling back the Witch of Flame, and it's singing about pipers and princes and stuff. It would have been.
Is that not sort of similar to Stairway to Heaven?
That's what that's what I was saying. It amazes me that they can come from the same era as Led Zeppelin and still, stand on their own. Like it seems like, well, it's similar enough to the feel of Led Zeppelin, although Led Zeppelin I think is arguably better musicianship, or something about them is more special. And so I would have expected that one of them to drop off, and it would be King Crimson. But it's obviously different tastes for different folks. I absolutely love Forever Changes. I can't expect anybody else to, but this is an opportunity where I could say, I want you to listen to this, So, I'm glad that I finally listened to it, and it is a good album. Probably now that I've listened to it, then I'm going to pick up on it more when I notice it elsewhere, or when I see something about the band, and then I'll be looking further into it, of course, and it'll. I think it's something that has to grow on me, and it very likely will.
Well, I'll say this. I don't ask people to sub or like the videos. This is a long video. I don't have a Patreon to plug. My only wish is that somebody listening to this checks out one of these things.
Yeah, I mean,
because that was sort of the whole point of the show, is for people to try new things and experience new things and have completely unbiased opinions
Right.
of them. So I'm glad you had mixed feelings.
well, and it's worth it. Yeah,
honestly.
it's worth it to check these albums out, because I think that's kind of the fun of it. Is if you haven't already, listen to it to find out why I'm wrong about my opinion or something. It makes it fun to what am I going to listen to today? Oh, I remembered what they said about that. Let me check it out for myself. I know that King Crimson is.
But if Big
popular.
Salmon likes it, it's got to be good.
That's right. Just like if Chris Hansen puts his seal of approval on it, it's got to be good. Sorry, to go back to the TCAP reference.
My God. By the way, was that ever like? Was that statement ever backed up?
Oh no.
I didn't
No.
think so. Oh yeah. By the way, Chris Hansen likes it. Really? When did he see
Yeah.
it? You don't seem to see it on his social media, and he uploads. He updates that every 10 minutes.
Yeah, Wes really gave him the business on that one, saying, "Oh, really? He likes it? Well, let's see what else Chris Hansen likes."
I know, I love that. Another reason to check out Baked Salmon's new channel, or his old channel if it gets reinstated, but right now it's the new one.
Yes.
The same name, Baked Salmon TCAP.
Yeah, Big Salmon TCAP is the best way to find it, because otherwise it's a lot of recipes.
And if you're looking for recipes, you go to TCAP recipes.
There
for
you
that.
go. Yes.
Has he made a baked salmon
He
dish? yet?
did. He did it as a sort of a tribute when I lost my channel. I was very touched by that. He's a good guy. I really like his sense of humor, and I really appreciate that. He has produced videos for the community that you can interact with. It's multifaceted. You can actually make the recipes, and I think it's very, very clever what he does, and I love his dog.
There's obviously a lot of effort in making the video and in post-production, and it
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
But this isn't the baked salmon TCAP recipe
It absolutely
show.
is not. It's more important than that. Stands above us all.
Let's talk about our movies.
Yes.
I'll start
Okay.
again. You recommended I watch Seven Samurai.
Yes.
It's a foreign black and white film from the 1950s. It's over 3 hours long.
Sorry about that. I thought it was 3.
It is consistently on people's top 100, top 50, top
Right.
20 lists of films. Here's what I took away. I understand why it's consistently ranked very high. It's a feat of a lot of
Right.
things. Given the quality of films at the time, I mean, there are far, less hits from that very early era of cinema than obviously what Hollywood can produce today, and they were reliant completely on practical effects and things like that. It's definitely experimental for its time, and I have a feeling you talked about another like a breaking down, analyzing of the cinematography and the symbolism and the things like that in the film that probably would add a whole nother layer to it. But as it stands as a regular film, probably not something I would have watched on a Saturday afternoon, because it is a bit of a commitment, and it did take me a few. Yeah, I regretted
saying that. I really should have gone with the other one, but when you were saying that you had it on your list, I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go for it. You should watch it.
I did, and I'm glad I got to check it out. When I finally did finish it, though, I was impressed. I always think that I'm not gonna like really old movies for some reason, but this was certainly an exception to that. I thoroughly enjoyed, above all else, the characters, and their arc and what they go through, and they're very wacky, and they're very dramatic, and they're very sad, and everything is all emotions are blown up 10,000% by everybody. When somebody's upset, they lie down and basically die because they're so upset. When somebody's laughing, they are knee slapping, busting around, jumping around. They're so happy. I loved it. I loved that. I'm not going to remember anybody's names, but there are definitely certain characters that stand out. And the ending is, you know what? Let's be careful with the movie. We're not going to give away any of the endings. But would I recommend it? Yeah, probably to somebody who really likes cinema, who likes movies, and it. There's a barrier, obviously, just the timepiece and the fact that it's a foreign film with subtitles. But if you can look past that, it's enjoyable. It's definitely, like I said, it deserves a place in a lot of people's tops. 20 or 30 movies of all time. So I say I give it an 8 out of 10.
And that the ones considered the greatest directors of our time and stuff, they always, many of them rather, point to Kurosawa as being their influence or someone they aspire to make films as good as him. So there's, it's not just the fans saying, this is great, but the professionals say it as well. And I think I said last time that when I watched it the first time through, it was a good movie. When I watched it with the commentary, it was a great movie, because then I could understand. I just don't know how to analyze film that well. So when somebody else explains it to me and I go, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, it's absolutely a film buff would love it, but they've probably already seen it. So
right, yeah, that's how
I appreciate you. I appreciate you putting in the time to watch it, because again, in hindsight, I was like, man, I kind of dogged him on that because that's such a long film. I didn't realize it was over.
You know what? I've taken a couple of film courses in both high school and college, and I've had to sit through a lot. I've had to sit through 3-hour-long black and white foreign films before.
Gotcha.
They're all good, but they're an ordeal. Repulsion. I think maybe Persona or something. I don't remember the name of it. Repulsion is one. That's a Roman Polanski one. It's an old one. It's a long movie. And this one I enjoyed more than the other ones.
Oh, fantastic! And it's good to have it under your belt now, right? So you've seen it. So when it comes up in combo,
I can say that I've seen it. Yep. Now I'm anxious to hear what you have to say about your film.
My film was Joker. It's not The Joker, right? It's just Joker.
Just Joker.
Joaquin Phoenix. I was trying to think of his name. I would say River Phoenix, only because I guess I'm old enough to remember when he passed. So that's the name that comes to mind. But Joaquin Phoenix is brilliant in this, and starting with when he's putting on makeup and he's practicing his smile, and then he uses that smile throughout the film, and his smile is as if he's putting his fingers on his mouth and pushing that smile up. I don't know how he does that, but it's brilliant acting. his frame, like hunched over with his backbone and sticking out.
Ooh, it's haunting.
Oh yeah,
it's
just I kind of just got chills right now when I said it, or when we said it. But I mentioned before, my mother said this is the best film she ever seen. I couldn't say that about it, but there are parts of that film that I should have known better, but I didn't realize that it was going to be a film so much about like mental illness and mental illness. That's how the film. That's what the film really spoke to me about, is just the loss of sanity.
I left the theater when I watched it with a lot of emotion and a little bit of oh my god, that was the best film. And as time went on, I thought about it a little bit. I'm like, you know what, that was pretty good. Maybe just because I would just left, I was feeling very raw after it. It is quite powerful.
Sure.
But
if
people are talking about a sequel too, which to be honest, I mean, I think by itself is a fine. I don't really know where you would even go from here, how you were going to beat that.
Yeah, that's something to consider as well. I mean, if he's such a good actor as I'm thinking he is now after seeing that, then there's no problem. He'll probably be able to carry any future script if they make another film with him. Presumably they will, if this is the obviously the origin story. But I love the depiction of Gotham, and I had a time where I was really into comic books, but it was mostly Marvel, and that was a long time ago. So the DC universe I didn't really explore much. So I didn't go into it, knowing much of that lore, I guess. And I don't know who was the writer that wrote this particular story, or this particular idea of what his origin would be. But it's just so cool. I mean, it's not. I was expecting rather something like a Tim Burton-esque backdrop, and that's not what they went with. It looks more realistic, but still very gray, like the city that is. And I don't know why, but I was just picturing it was going to be more comic book-ish, and it's not. It's like a very dark story of a guy who's doesn't have a great grip on reality because of his childhood and his past. As the lies and the
character acting and cinematography play a strong part in this. But for me, the show stealer, besides Joaquin Phoenix, is just the soundtrack. Long background music that really emphasizes the type of emotion. Right. And can immediately jump to a Joker dancing downstairs, to a rock song or whatever, and having the time of his life, and it all is so natural.
The music is great, really it doesn't. It does carry the storyline. So if it wasn't so perfectly tuned to the story, it was it wouldn't have been as impactful. But the story itself is pretty deep, and if that's out in a book form, I bet that's a heavy read, because his what he must be thinking, you have to guess, obviously, because there's no real soliloquy or anything, but he's got a lot of crap going on in his head.
I read something that really made me sad. Because of his mental illness and because of the emotions he's feeling, every time he breaks out into laughter is really when he wants to cry.
That makes sense.
But he can't.
Yeah. Well, because he was always told he was such a happy boy. It's
there's a long shot of him in the therapist's office somewhere in the first third of the film where he is just in and out of crying and hysterical laughter, back and forth, and it's agonizing to watch.
Right.
And it's the first time you really see the struggle.
I did write down two things that stood out to me in the film. For whatever reason, they're not even major points, but they were just stark or something to me. They were worth writing down, I suppose. There's a part where his mother's in the hospital and he is smoking in the hospital, and right away that wait a minute, you can't smoke in a hospital, but this guy's out of his mind, so I guess you can. And he says, I haven't been happy one day in my life. I used to think my life was a tragedy. Now I know it's a comedy. And I thought that was a good, summing up of where he's coming from. And the other thing that stood out is his knock joke on the sofa, and with the pistol, like he's imagining what it would be like for the punchline to be his suicide or something. And and also when he's practicing with the pistol, that reminds me. Taxi Driver, the movie Taxi Driver, it reminds me of that, because when he's practicing with the pistol as if he's discussing a conversation, and then he's going to be a badass with the pistol. Very Taxi Driver-esque, and plus his his frame, like I said, he's just like, you could tell he's kind of malnourished and stuff, and it just really reminded me of De Niro in Taxi Driver, that scene. But yeah, those are the things that stood out to me as far as the specific scenes. And
De Niro, you said?
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure he was.
Yeah, he was. That's why I didn't know if it's a nod or an afterthought, or if it's it must be intentional, because I'm not a good movie critic, and if I noticed it, they certainly did. So I don't know.
Well, without giving away the ending, overall, your impressions, what would you rate it?
And I didn't rate the album, so we should do that. For the movie, in my experience, having seen a fairly limited number of films compared to a lot of folks, probably a 9 for the cinematography, just the overall filming of it. Would I watch it again? I don't think so. Even though it's a 9, it's I understand the story.
It would be a very long time before I would want to watch it again. Yeah,
exactly. I know the story, and it did have me feeling a little emotional. There's a scene where I don't think it's giving much away, because he's a crazy guy, but where his acquaintances from work come to see him, and he kills one of them, and it was like, it was so startling, because up to that point, there was the guys on, there was other killing in it, but that one in particular just seemed, one of them, the previously I felt like it was kind of justified. That one was just like so out of the blue, and
that whole scene is about 10 minutes, and it feels like an hour. You are on the edge of your, like, he just did that, what is he going to do next? And there's even shortly after that, and you'll know what I'm talking about, there's a moment where you are just squirming in your chair because of what you think is going to happen, and then he's just real casual about it. He's like, what's up? Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, that one was heavy.
When I'm referring to the lock on the door.
Yeah. Can you get the door for me? Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, no problem.
That movie though, definitely a 9, and still though I would wait probably 10 years before I'd watch it again myself. Yeah. So and then just to go back real quick, I'm going to say that album was a 7 for me. Yeah. So it's a good album.
Those are both fair assessments. I'd say I'd probably agree with you on both of those. Now, television.
Oh, yes.
Like I said before, I was on a bit of a British television kick. I just finished the series of Toast of London.
Okay, haven't seen it.
Have you ever heard of that? Matthew Berry is the lead guy. He's a musician. He's an actor. He's very funny. It was a very funny, dry British show. Same sort of dry British humor. I found the British version of The Office, the original, the UK version of The Office, to be just as uncomfortable and funny as it was for me to watch the original American Office the first time. Now I don't cringe as much when I watch the American Office because I've seen it so many times. But seeing this and going in with a fresh look and David Brent type of guy, that it just makes everything uncomfortable, and it's so funny. That really is what puts a lot of people off from both versions of the show, is just how uncomfortable it makes people, but that's the brilliance of it. Ricky Gervais is a master of dry British humor, and very obnoxious humor at the same time. He's definitely, just outside of even the show, is one of my all-time favorite performers, actors, comedians. He's very funny. I will continue to binge watch the series. I watched about the first 5 episodes of season 1. And I thoroughly plan on watching the other episodes throughout.
Oh,
the
that's
weeks.
great. I would recommend Life on the Road, the movie that he put out. If you're not a fan of the show,
Not too
what's
long
that?
ago, right? That came out
Yeah,
not too long ago, right?
Yeah,
The
I
last
think
couple years?
maybe within the last 5 years or something. But it's an excellent extension of the story because he's playing himself, and it's just as cringy or more so. And he just it's brilliant, and I like that show. I like that character because it seems like people that I've worked with, and you see someone like that in your life, and they just have no clue, but they think that they're everybody's buddy, but they're honestly behind the scenes they're really not. But everybody puts up with them, and but I guess the good thing for him is he won't really ever realize it. Like if he was a real person, he just goes along through his life thinking that everybody finds him the perfect comedian. And
yeah, it's like when you're writing a show, your characters would be like, well, we need the big, hilarious, good-looking lead, and an equally beautiful, attractive woman who's just as likable, and we need a total goofball character that's just goofy all the time. And this show does a really good job of like showing real emotions and real people. Like they all have moments where they're very happy and very sad and very goofy and very funny. And Ricky Gervais especially, his character is just very insecure, and you can tell. It's not the goofball just being the goofball. You can tell he really is trying to like be friends with everybody, and and he's also trying to manage at the same time, which he's not doing very well. And he's going through hard times, and the company's sake, and he's expected to like lay off people, and that just makes him uncomfortable.
The love interest on the British, Don and Tim, is I feel more realistic. It seems, or not more realistic, more relatable. That's what I should say. Not that Pam and Jim couldn't be realistic; they certainly can be. But with the American version, we actually see them, become a couple. And I guess I don't want to totally give away, but in the British one, there's it's just it doesn't. It's all about the desire or something, like the interest, but they they have trouble making that apparent or something, and so they just joke.
That's a very British thing to bottle emotions.
Yeah, I could see that. And so as far as that part of the storyline, I definitely appreciate the British one better. And it was the first one I saw, so I think Carell did a great job of bringing that character to America.
Yeah, it's strange for me because this is the second one I've seen. I saw the American one first. And I think going from either one is a bit of an adjustment. But they're both so good in completely different ways, but they all stem from the same ideas and the same premises and the same type.
It's good that you were already viewing British television, anyways. It sounds like so, because I hadn't been when I got turned on to that, and it really took me a while to hear everything that was being said. And then to understand, why it's funny and some of the comments and stuff, just because I wasn't as tuned into British comedy and British speaking, because they don't speak.
It's a little American is much more pronounced in their punchlines and in their jokes. British they kind of say some things under their breath a little bit, and you got to pay attention. You got to listen closely, but it's worth it. I say worth a watch for fans of The Office American version, people who are fans of comedy who haven't seen either ones. 7 out of 10.
Nice. And I want to say Stephen Merchant, who is half of that series, is definitely he gets the credit, if not more. Who knows? But David Brent's that character is. That's because of who's portraying him. But as far as the actual jokes and the storyline, I wouldn't doubt if Stephen Merchant was the heavier part of the writing of that, just because I've listened to their podcast or their radio show, their XM radio show, start to finish many times, and there's hundreds of hours at least of that. And
are you talking about the one that was animated?
well, yeah, that's right. They took the radio show eventually and made it animated, and that's brilliant. Whoever does the animation is so friggin' funny.
I love that. Yeah.
But I saw that, and then I sought out their radio show, and there's like I said, hundreds of hours stuff that was never covered on the animated one. And having seen the animated ones on HBO, I think that helped just to enjoy listening to them and picturing those characters. Carl Pilkington, I've got a book by Carl Pilkington now. Yeah, he's
hero.
just, I mean, he's a div, but
he's a specimen.
he really is.
He is. If ever there was an alien walking among us,
It could be, and he would probably appreciate that. But yeah, the Idiot Abroad stuff is really good, and
it is.
I mean, that has to be at least some of it has to be his, or most of it I would say has to be his true character. It could be an act largely, but it's just too natural. Nothing really ever looks like he's faking it when he's just being quote himself. So I can believe that it's real, and that's kind of rare when you have reality TV anymore. It's hard to believe everything's real, or anything's real rather. That one though, I would.
Where the so-called reality television seems more fake than the scripted comedy.
So for me, it's a 10 out of 10. The Office, the British Office. I've watched it many times. I can listen to it on my headphones. I don't have to be watching it. Just listening to it. It's kind of comfort food for me anymore. If I need to have something on while I'm going to sleep or whatever, that works for me easily. And I do that a lot for some reason. I want to listen to something as I fall asleep. I don't have to be looking at it just because I've seen it so many times and can probably recite the lines along with them. But yeah, that's my 10 out of 10. That's my my bar that I set for comedy.
Okay, very nice. And speaking of British television shows, Black Mirror actually the first season was entirely British television show on Channel 4, I believe, in the UK, before it was picked up and adapted by
they can put
Netflix.
Stuff on TV that we can't, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure, yes. Now, beforehand, you had seen one episode prior called White Bear, was that episode. I gave you a list of a couple different ones to check out. I'm curious, what did you watch?
Well, here's where I failed you probably a little bit. I sat down and put on Netflix, found Black Mirror, and I started it from the first show. I watched the first episode,
from like episode 1.
Thinking, I'm just going to check these out, like I would get to it. Okay,
that's fine. I'm
so
okay. Go on.
But then, just a lot of stuff happened this week. So this is where I failed you. I only saw those two episodes, the first and the second episode of all of them, is all that I got to. So I can give you.
I know the. Oh, okay. I know. But
okay, the first one
good.
is called National Anthem. I wrote that down before we started. National Anthem's the first one, and that's with the.
Tell me if you agree.
Yeah.
I tell most people when I'm recommending that show to skip the first episode because it's a little much.
It's so over the top, yeah. But it's cool. I mean, about that one specifically, the storyline being that someone's kidnapped the Princess of Wales, I guess the Crown Princess, and then the demands from the kidnapper are that the Prime Minister have sex with a pig on live TV. So the entire episode is, the public opinions waning. Like, at first people were supporting of him, that he, don't do it, and then later on people are like, you got to do it. You got to have sex with a pig on TV so that the princess can be saved.
So much of that episode is just panicking, thinking like, oh man, how are they going to get out of it? Because they can't do it. So I'm wondering, what they're gonna do to get out of it.
Right. So that's the enjoyment of it. It's just like, that's what keeps you, I felt like, on the edge of your seat.
Say no.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like, well, all right, something's gonna happen, but it's not gonna be that. Obviously.
Right. No, the twist is really good though. The twist, I didn't see it coming. And you're right. You're just thinking, what can they do to thwart the plans of this kidnapper? And then the ultimate twist at the end is just, it's such a kick in the nuts. You're just like, fuck. Yeah, it's they're so short. It's hard to discuss it without feeling like you're going to give away the ending. But
right.
Yeah, it's absolutely putting yourself in the place of both the prime minister, who's having to debate, am I going to have sex with a pig live on TV? Because that's such a wild, out there idea, to begin with, that anybody would do that, and then.
But it's such almost a real thing. Like, how many people want to tell the leader of their country, their politicians, to do something fucking on par with that?
And how do you come back from that? Even if you do it, you've saved the princess.
Like, are you
right? If you don't do it, and they're gonna kill her, so what do you do, right? And the other part of the story that I thought was compelling is his staff, his inner circle, like how they're advising him, what they're doing to decide what they're going to do. Is they don't focus on them so much, but they're in there. They're making comments to him and stuff, and that was something that I found myself thinking about, is what is his closest secretaries, what is she thinking about, and when they're advising him, some of them are very straight faced, like you have to do this, or you must not do this, and like very matter of fact. But you got to think that woman that's his closest secretary, she seems to have his best interest at heart. So her opinions, I liked thinking, even deeper, like what is she actually thinking in her head? I don't know. It was very shocking storyline, but
something out of today, whereas episode 2 is a little bit more dystopian future reality.
So
what did you think?
So
of
the second one's called 15 Million Merits, and merits being like creds that these individuals can learn in this futuristic currency. And the storyline is these people are every day. It takes a while to understand what's going on, but they wake up in the morning. Their room is all like LCD screens or whatever. It's all television screen all the way around. So when they wake up, it looks like sort of a cartoonish farm. Yeah, well, yeah. But so
or whatever
there
they
you
pay
go.
for.
So the specific character, the main character rather, when he wakes up, it looks like a cartoon scene with a rooster crowing, and then he can just like wave his hand and it'll knock the crow off. So it's all like just like we have touch screens, but they just use hand gestures to interact with these screens. But the TVs and the viewing of media is a huge part of their life. But they wake up and they go to what is basically a gym. They sit down on exercise bikes and they just cycle, and they like pretty much all day. Clearly they have some breaks, but and they earn their money through this cycling. But then it seems like that's their only life, is just doing that.
What I assume is it's some form of futuristic form of generating electricity.
Yeah.
And they need people to do it, and they need bodies to do it, and people put their time in, and they can go as comfortably slow as they'd like, or they could power through it and accumulate these points and use them to purchase extravagant things for themselves, or even eventually their own freedom.
Right, and they can gift their credits, which it plays a part in the story. It's interesting that initially I was thinking that this was isolated, like an isolated group perhaps, and then I noticed that when they show like a live studio audience at some on some program, it seems that they're animated, and so it's hard to understand, like, is most of the world doing this, or that was something that kind of threw me. But again, now I understand this whole entire show is about the twist, and so much so that some of the episodes carry the story into the credits. well, I've only seen 3 episodes, so 2 of the episodes I've seen. So you get the end of the story, then it goes to the credits. But while it's playing the credits, it's continuing to reveal the rest of the story, and I think that's pretty brilliant. It just
it does that about every other episode almost.
So yeah, 2 out of the 3 I've seen. That would make sense. And but the feel of the story is like very much a Ray Bradbury or like those masters. Yeah,
Twilight
masters
Zone.
of sci-fi and tales of the unknown, and like it's very cool stuff. I can understand why it's why you recommended it, and
would you continue watching?
Yeah, it's that's going to be actually when I go to Netflix. That's what I'll be watching because they're just too good, and they're nuggets. It's like 45 minutes or whatever they are. A complete
it's
story.
Funny, you can read the synopsis of each one, and there's ones that are going to really stand out to you, like, oh, that sounds good, and then there's ones that are going to be like, I don't know, it kind of sounds boring, and you know what? Every single one of them is good because of that twist, and the world building that they do, and how in a incredibly futuristic utopia or dystopia, they can still convey human emotion very well.
Yeah, it's not. From what I'm seeing, it doesn't appear like it's over the top, unrealistic. Well, I guess I can't say that because the White Bear one, it seems like wow, that's pretty over the top.
Very much, you can see some of these things happening in the distant future and the not so distant future. You'll see as you go on and watch more of the episodes. But overall, what would you say?
First of all, I want to apologize. I honestly, when I sat down and watched it, it was almost immediately after we talked, and I thought, I'll just, it was just kind of mindless. I just hit play, and I knew that I was going to get to the specific ones, and I just only got to those 2, and knew I was going back to it, and then all kinds of stuff was happening. To my baked salmon life.
That's so good. They're long episodes too, though. So,
but so overall, when it comes to if you want to relate it to a TV program, it easily, from what I can tell, matches what made Twilight Zone enjoyable, in that it was very small stories that have unique storylines. It's amazing to me, Twilight Zone, for example. All of the episodes stand alone. There's, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of repeating of, it's this same kind of story. And so far, it seems like they're doing a pretty good job of it. They're going for weird and shocking or surprising, and they're pulling it off well. Do you know if if there's the same writer, or it'd be hard to believe it'd be the same writers, but.
They shift through the seasons and through the episodes. Each one is has a different. They bring a different writer on. But Charlie Brooker is the creator of the show and pretty much the head force behind it. He's a British. He's a media guy. He's done some comedy. He's done some writing here. He's a brilliant guy. Charlie Brooker's his name. He is the one that spearheaded the beginning of it and pretty much everything after that. And after the first season, it gets significantly more Americanized, but there is still, the different stories take place all around the world with a much bigger cast, like bigger stars are in the show, and it's just like every episode you've seen, a bizarre setup with very real human emotions.
Okay, so the fellow's name is Booker, you said? Yeah. Okay, so Booker, probably what makes the show. Likely what makes it very good is that there's this one person that had the idea to take stories like that, and Rod Serling from the original Twilight Zone was definitely the force behind that show, and that really made a difference. That he I don't know their exact backstory, if he ever fought with his network or whatever, but I understand that he very much chose which stories would be done, and since Booker is probably in the same position where it's his brainchild or whatever,
well, then they were able to get away with quite a bit in the first season, but when you go to Netflix, anything goes. there's really nothing to hold you back, and I'm very excited for you to watch the episodes.
I'll get back to you on those, yeah. And I apologize, but I'll tell you what.
Yes.
Even though I didn't see those specific ones, now I have those to look forward to, and the ones the two that I watched, they blew my mind, and they definitely sold the series to me.
You want to give it a rating?
9. As far as my idea of will I go back to watch it, absolutely 9. Possibly a 10, because there's not a lot of stuff that I can say is great in that format, like a television format. I still consider it TV, even though it's Netflix, and because they're just those 40-minute episodes or whatever they are. 9.5, let's say.
Very nice. Now here's where things get interesting. We both gave each other something different to do, just to do, a thing to do. And as part of our wild card category, and we've both, as I've understood, done those things. Firstly, I'd like, if you were to check your email, kind sir.
I'm ready for that.
I've sent you 3 pictures. What was the name of the alphabet again?
Hiragana, yeah.
The Japanese hiragana. The Japanese hiragana alphabet, phonetic alphabet. I was asked to pull a little bit, flex a little bit of my creative muscle and draw images out of the characters that can also be related to the sound in the letters. I think if you open some of them up, you'll get the gist.
Okay, I'll open number 1. It says Japanese Art 1.
Yep.
Now, is that genitals? So male, yeah, like him, right? So the male.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. See now, this is what's so cool about the mnemonic device. I have a feeling that if you were to look at Japanese, in the future, you're going to look at that character and you're going to say, "Wait a minute, that reminds me of the genitals that I drew." So
the number 2 is
Let's see.
I think you'll get it.
Na na na, hey, goodbye. Yes, nah. Brilliant, dude. I like it. Here's what I came up with and I should probably tell you the other one also. So nah, presumably this is going to be shown on your video so people can see it. So when it got to nah, there's 3 different elements to this character. And since Japanese was totally, foreign to me, I mean, I just had no idea. When I got to that one, I'm like, nah. I'm not going to remember that. Nah. And that's how I remembered it. The previous one there, the one that you did the genitals, the sound of it is he. And I saw it as like a giant grin saying he he he. So that's how I remembered that one. Let's see number 3 here. This is probably good. Exactly. That's exactly what I did. It looks just like a cow. The little circle I picture being the like the ring in the nose of the cow. Perfect. Mm-hmm. So that one is moo. Yeah, and I how could you not just make a cow from that one, right? So right. I should probably maybe or maybe not. I don't know how interesting it'll be for folks. I can supply you with all of the ones that I came up with for the characters that I offered. Yeah,
please do.
Because it was it was something I hit on when I'm like, how in the world am I going to remember these shapes and the sounds that they make? And that's what it was. That's what I had to make pictures. Now there's some that just didn't really lend themselves to anything, but I think my ideas for some of them are brilliant. If I do say so myself, so we'll let you and your comments.
Well, speaking
decide.
of learning a foreign language, I'd like to hear how your activity went.
Duolingo is what you asked me to download. I actually went with Japanese because my Japanese is not great, and but the cool thing with the Duolingo is you can test up to your level, and that was a lot of fun for me because I'm thinking, I don't know that much Japanese like I should, and so it was fun for me to discover exactly how much I do know. I know more than I thought I did.
That's right. That's exactly what my experience was too.
Yeah, so it was neat. You get to level 2 or whatever, and then you can test out of it, and I was successful. Level 3 successful, level 4 successful, level 5 started to falter, and it just like any algorithm or good software that's written well, it recognizes where your strengths and weaknesses are, and and so it will repeat things. It's really well done because.
I was especially impressed with the design, how intuitive it is, for sure. It makes learning versus memorizing much easier.
So I find I had a difficult time when it would say translate this, and you take it gives you all the pieces of the sentence, and you have to put them in the right order, and those were getting frustrating for me. But the nice thing is it doesn't like give you 10 of those in a row. It'll give you one of those, and then it'll say, what's the sound of this character. Or it's very well done. It's surprising to me that it's free. I don't, you can like upgrade, I guess, and I just wouldn't see doing it.
I think I.
Okay. See, I don't see, version. But I guess maybe because I know enough Japanese that I felt comfortable with it. But I don't know what the upgrade would have offered me, because I'm like, this is pretty good. It's already quizzing me and testing me, so I'm not sure what the upgrade offers actually. But I loved it. As far as apps go, especially since I'm probably going to be spending more time in Japan in the near future. I've actually been told that I have a job offer there. I don't know. Yeah.
Ooh,
but
interesting.
It's going to require me to be able to speak, much better Japanese. So that's only going to happen. Yeah.
Well, here you go. This will be interesting. We'll both be masters of foreign language by the end of the year.
Exactly.
I'm sure of it.
So I'm glad that you turned me on to it, to be honest. In terms of, as far as apps that I've ever downloaded, easily a 9, because it's valuable for me, and I understood that there was language apps out there, but I didn't expect it to be it's like 10 minutes a day. I can do that,
Like everything else in life that's good for you, I got very ambitious right away and was like, I'm going to use this every day. I'm going to be, I'm going to be a master at this. And then after a week or so, I was like, maybe I'll give it a break. But just again, recently I've been coming back to it, and I was like, right.
It's the one app that I haven't. I'm not, annoyed when it's reminding me, that hey, there's something going on. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go do this right now. It's actually enjoyable. 10 minutes, no problem.
It's not trying to sell you anything either,
So I do appreciate it. That was an excellent idea, and I'm glad that you were able to get my idea and make your own mnemonic device out of it.
Anything I can draw a dick on.
Yeah, you sure can. Brilliant dick too.
Merci beaucoup. For joining me on my show. How do you say?
That means it's not a problem. No big deal. No sweat.
Very nice. Who says we don't have culture? Right. Huh? Who says white people don't have
Most
culture?
people.
Come on.
I probably said it, but
this was a blast. 2 very fun evenings I got to spend with my buddy Baked Salmon, who runs an incredible YouTube channel. I don't really know what this is, if it's a podcast, if it's an interview show, whatever it is. It's going to go up, and people, I hope, are going to listen to it, and hopefully are going to stay tuned for the next episode where I have another guest on and we do sort of the same thing and just talk about different things. But again, thank you very much. If you have anything you'd like to say or plug before we go, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Heisenberg. Sir, do you go by Heisenberg on your show? I don't know. Or Dan, I'm not sure. But that's what I know you as. But thank you for having me.
Either or.
It really it touches me, I guess, that you reached out to me. I'm sure you know a lot of people, and you decided that I would be a good choice for the first round. And anywhere that I faltered, I apologize. But I just thought it was great fun. And you had mentioned, it's nice that we both were able to have, those days or those times to get together. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't really always happen like that with a lot of things in my life. And this was, this worked out great. I'm honored that you chose me, and I really hope that this is something successful. I'll be, continuing to watch. I can't wait to see how you, when you put it up, what we're looking at as we're listening, so to speak. And I recently am now at over 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, and that's also very touching for me because I know that some people have gone out on a limb to help me out. Not out on a limb, but taking their own time. Mr. Gigi's just one example. I probably shouldn't make a list because then I'm going to forget people, but yeah, people saw what had happened and they helped me out. My channel is bigger than it was before, and if to anybody that's listening that is a subscriber, thank you very much, and I'm going to keep making content that people enjoy.
Well, if things on YouTube don't work out, I have an in with this. It's sort of a beta version of this do-it-yourself website builder for like $60 a month, where you can build your own platform or stream as in stream
Nice.
video games and playthroughs, or stream Netflix content. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want on the website. It's fine. It's just $80.
Yeah, can you monetize right away, like the same day? That's what I heard.
Oh yeah, and no rules. There's rules on YouTube. There's gonna be no rules on this website. I'll send you the link. Surely that will be something you
Thank
can
you,
use.
sir.
Anyway, thank you for anybody who listened all the way to the end. I appreciate it. If you have listened all the way to the end, in the comments, I want you to type "Mother Russia will live on," and that's the way I'll know. So thank you. This has been Dan Heisenberg White, and we're signing
Bye-bye.
off until next time. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Bye.
Thank you, sir.